Both Jeff and I have always leaned toward environmental responsibility, and a manufacturing company has a waste stream. And it was important to us that we recognize that and that we do what we can to always minimize that.
Founded by an electrical engineer and a social worker, it only makes sense that New Belgium Brewery has always looked for ways to operate both efficiently and in a socially responsible manner. By embracing new technologies, seeking out alternative forms of energy, and reducing their waste, New Belgium strives to make smart business decisions and to do well by the environment each and every day. Environmental issues in the past were viewed as a no-win situation because you either helped the environment and killed business or helped the business and killed the environment. Companies such as New Belgium have revolutionized this idea and exemplify how companies can not only be environmentally conscious but also make long-term profit in the process.
We have two core values and beliefs at New Belgium that speak to environmental ethic, and my job is to really talk about those, which is really fun because a lot of what we're doing at the brewery is just infused into every area of the brewery.
I started in home brewing back in 1980, sharing a house with a guy who came home one day and said, "Hey, I heard you can make beer at home." And I looked at him and said, "I think you're crazy." But the next day we went out and bought some ingredients and made beer. And it was a semi-disaster and exploded and did all kinds of terrible things.
This infusion of environmental ethics and planning within New Belgium Brewery began early on when Jeff needed a way to condense the full brewing operation into the basement of his home. In order to do this, it was necessary to turn to technology that was not only innovative, but also efficient.
Banks would not give us business loans, and we weren't particularly interested in taking on business partners. So I came up with a design to put the brewing operation in the basement of our house. Because of the low capital investment, that we were able to concentrate on making quality, somewhat esoteric beers and not needing to look for a high volume wide market in order to make the business somewhat profitable.
Jeff's interest in brewing beer began in Belgium while on a family vacation. He was impressed with the variety of beers that Belgian brewers were able to offer just by turning to ingredients not often used in other areas by brewers. Upon his return to his home in Colorado, Jeff employed the new techniques that he had learned in his own brewing creations and was quickly earning rave reviews from both friends and family alike. Jeff's ability to think outside the box in his beer creations is also what allows him to think differently than many companies in terms of how the actual brewing process will occur. At New Belgium Brewery, many new, innovative, and environmentally friendly techniques are used in the beer brewing process.
Reducing the amount of resources that we use, the initial flow coming in, making sure that we invested in technology that was, especially in terms of energy efficiency, that was as efficient as we could get it, reusing resources, and then lastly, recycling.
So we use a lot of large windows with overhangs that help diffuse that sunlight. We have sun tubes, which is also really great for getting sunlight into areas where there are no windows. All of the lights, where it's applicable, are set to a motion sensor. So they'll only come on if there's motion in the room. But even on top of that, they're also with a sun sensor. So if the natural daylight is bright enough, the lights won't even come on at all, whether there's motion or not. And then as the day gets darker, then the motion sensors start to kick in. So you never have to worry about turning the lights on or off.
Turning lights off and on automatically is a simple but brilliant exercise in saving electricity and natural resources. But even this pales in comparison when the bigger achievements of New Belgium are brought to light.
We're taking all the process-related wastewater and we're feeding it into this system that consists of two anaerobic digesters.
The anaerobic digester takes care of about 90% of the reduction that we're looking for in the effluent or the water coming out here. The anaerobic digester is also where we produce our methane gas, which is one of the main energy sources that we're trying to recapture off of this process.
Which is a greenhouse gas and can contribute to global warming. So instead of just releasing it, what we'll be doing is cycling that back to the brewery and running a cogen plant with that methane.
All of our systems are controlled through a pretty technologically advanced automation, just like we have up in the brewery.
And the cogen is basically an engine that creates electricity and it also creates heat. It's a cogeneration. So what we do is we'll take that electricity that's fueled by our waste methane and we'll actually be able to run the brewery off the grid for about 5 hours a day.
With technology like this fueling the brewery, it's no wonder that everyone involved feels good about their conservation efforts. One of the more remarkable things to mention is that the company is structured in a horizontal hierarchy where all the coworkers that have been with New Belgium for over a year have a vote in how things are run. In essence, they are a workforce of co-owners who have decided to adopt the stance that they are environmentally conscious and will do everything they can to protect it for future generations.
I love doing environmental events where people walk up to me and say, "Why is a brewery here?" And then we engage in a conversation about what we're doing and why that's important. Then people start to realize all the things that are possible and whether they adapt that in their own life or maybe they take it back to their business, and then you start to create change and you really see a ripple effect. In 1998, there was a study done at the brewery, an internal study, to decide what our largest CO2 emissions were. Carbon dioxide is one of the largest greenhouse gases, and so we were pretty concerned about that. And it's also a natural byproduct of fermentation. So what we did was we conducted this internal study thinking that it was going to be coming off of fermentation. And what we realized was that our largest CO2 emissions were actually coming from the coal-fueled power plant that supplies us with our electricity and is the main electricity source for the city of Fort Collins. And it just so happened at that time that the city of Fort Collins had a brand new wind program, and so we contracted with them to do 10 years of 100% of our energy usage, which enabled that program to actually continue on. It was really teetering on the point of non-existence. And so after a unanimous employee vote, we decided to go with that wind power program. And for us, going wind powered was a decision that we made because it was the right thing to do.
For some people, this would have been a difficult decision when trying to balance personal gain with social responsibility. Not for the employee owners of New Belgium, who not only voted to make the conversion, but also voted to dip into their bonus pool to help finance it. Now that's a culture of social responsibility within a company. This is because for New Belgium, it's not just about being environmentally friendly, it's about striving towards sustainable growth. Their desire is to reach their economic goals and meet their present needs without harming the ability of future generations to meet their needs.
From that came all kinds of great exposure from the media and also from our consumers. We're excited to see that. And again, it was a decision we made based on an environmental ethic, but now all of a sudden here we're seeing all these exciting benefits from that that aren't environmentally related, yet it wouldn't have happened if we hadn't made that environmental decision.
As you may have noticed by this point, the New Belgium Brewery has developed a solid practice of business ethics and social responsibility. The interesting thing to note is that they're not all one and the same. Business ethics are the principles and standards that determine acceptable conduct in business organizations, whereas social responsibility is a business's obligation to maximize its positive impact and minimize its negative impact on society.
So some number of years ago, we decided to give $1 per barrel to philanthropy.
Social responsibility can be split into 4 categories: economic, legal, ethical, and voluntary. What makes New Belgium Brewery special is that a lot of their initiatives are voluntary, so they're being truly proactive as opposed to reactive.
The philanthropy committee is made up of about 15 members. It's all kinds of people from the brewery, from production to management. And what they do is they get together and once a month we sit down, look at the proposals that nonprofits have sent in, and we decide who we would like to fund.
It's close to 5% of our profit. So we feel very good about that, and it allows all of our coworkers an opportunity again to participate in the business of running the business.
Social responsibility is an ever-evolving area of concern depending on the views and opinions of society at any given time. In addition, businesses need to cater to various groups: their owners and stockholders, their employees, and of course, their customers. So where does one begin? At New Belgium, they broke down responsibilities into 4 categories.
We try to split our funding into 4 different categories: social issues, drug and alcohol issues, cultural, and environmental.
This helps them to try to cover the wide berth of issues that are important to all employee owners.
I think that the philanthropy aspect is so important in New Belgium, one, because so many people are involved in it, and it's not often that people can have, $100,000, $200,000 to sort of play with, to say, these are the causes that are important to me. These are the changes I want to help make in the world. It's just another way in which we're trying to live our values and make our love and talent manifest. We are so fortunate here that it's important for us to give back.
I think that it's important that we participate in our larger community. And one of the ways, not the only way, but one of the ways that we can do that is through philanthropy. To whom much is given, much is expected, and I believe that.